I turned 63 last spring, and I thought the hardest part of my life was already behind me. I was wrong. It was Thanksgiving morning when my phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. I had the turkey in the brine, the good china out on the table, and my old flannel shirt on, the one my daughter always teased me about. I was happy. That's the thing I keep coming back to. I was genuinely, completely happy. The text was from my son-in-law, Marcus. Ray, Lily's not feeling well. She says she's sorry, but she can't do dinner today. She'll call you later. I read it twice. Then a third time. Lily had never missed Thanksgiving. Not once in 31 years. Not when she had mono in college. Not when she was 8 months pregnant with my granddaughter and could barely get off the couch. My daughter showed up. That was just who she was. I typed back, "Is she okay? Can I talk to her?" 3 minutes passed. 5. 10. "She's resting. I'll have her call you when she wakes up." I set the phone down on the counter and stood there for a long moment, looking at the turkey I'd brined for 18 hours. Something moved through me that I can only describe as cold. Not the temperature kind, the other kind. The kind that starts in your chest and doesn't leave. My wife, Carol, had passed 4 years earlier. Lily was all I had left. She was 31 years old, a kindergarten teacher. And she had the same laugh as her mother, this big, unguarded thing that took over her whole face. She had married Marcus Holt 2 years ago, in a small ceremony out at Riverside Park. I had walked her down the aisle. I had given that man my daughter's hand. I called her cell phone. It rang 4 times and went to voicemail. "Hey, it's Lily. Leave me something good." I left a message. I told her I loved her, that I hoped she felt better, that I'd save her a plate. She never called back. By 6 o'clock that evening, the turkey was cold, and I had called 7 more times. Marcus texted once more around 4. "She's still sleeping. Don't worry, Ray." And that was it. Nothing after that. Don't worry, Ray. I have been a lot of things in my life. I spent 22 years as a structural engineer. Raised a daughter mostly on my own after Carol got sick the first time. Buried my wife. Fixed my own roof at 61 years old in November because I couldn't afford to pay someone else to do it. I am not a man who panics easily, but I know my daughter. And I knew something was wrong. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the armchair by the front window, the way I used to sit when Lily was a teenager, and out past curfew, watching the street, waiting. Except this time there was nothing to watch, just the empty road and the neighbor's porch light, and my own reflection in the dark glass. In the morning I made a decision. Lily and Marcus lived 40 minutes north of me, out past the county line, in a house they'd been renting for the past year. Old farmhouse set back from the road with a gravel driveway and a big red barn that Marcus used for his contracting business. I had helped them move in. I had fixed their leaking kitchen faucet in October. I did not call ahead. I got in my truck, and I drove. It was just past 7 in the morning when I turned onto their road. The frost was still on the fields, and the sky was that flat gray color that means winter is serious about arriving. I slowed down before I reached the driveway, because something immediately looked wrong to me. There were 3 vehicles I didn't recognize, parked along the front of the property. A black Escalade, a silver pickup, and a white panel van with no plates. The lights were on inside the house. I could see movement through the front window curtains. I pulled over on the shoulder about 100 yards back and sat there with the engine running. Marcus drove a green Ford F-150. His mother drove a beige Camry. I knew those vehicles. None of these were those. I pulled out my phone and called Lily again. Voicemail. I called Marcus. It rang once and then cut to silence, not voicemail, just dead air, like the call was rejected manually. I sat there for a long moment thinking. Then I got out of the truck. I did not walk up the driveway. I know that property well enough. There's a tree line along the east side that runs from the road all the way back to the barn, and if you follow it, you can get to the back of the house without being seen from the front windows. I had walked that tree line with Lily's dog the previous summer. I knew exactly where to put my feet. The ground was hard and the leaves made more noise than I wanted. I moved slowly, keeping to the trees, watching the house. I could hear voices now. Male voices. More than one. Speaking low. Music from somewhere. Something with bass. The smell of cigarette smoke drifting out. I came around to the back of the house and stopped. The barn door was open about 6 inches. A light was on inside. It made no sense. Marcus's tools were in that barn. His equipment. He was particular about it. Always locked. Always secured. He'd told me that more than once. The barn door was never left open. I crossed the backyard low and fast, the way my father taught me to move when we used to hunt together 40 years ago, and I pressed myself against the side of the barn wall. I listened. I heard breathing. Quiet. Labored. Deliberate, the breathing of someone trying to control pain. I pulled the door open another foot and stepped inside. The barn was lit by a single work light hanging from a rafter, casting everything in hard yellow shadow. Marcus's tools lined the walls the same as always. The riding mower in the corner, the stacked lumber, and in the back corner, on the concrete floor, zip-tied to a support post with her wrists behind her, was my daughter. Her lip was split. Her left eye was swollen, nearly shut. She was in the same clothes she had been wearing when I saw her last, the blue fleece pullover and jeans from when she had stopped by my house the Wednesday before Thanksgiving to drop off a pie. She had been in that barn for at least 2 days. I want to stop here and tell you what it feels like to see your child like that, but I don't have language for it. There are no words in any language I know. What I can tell you is that my hands were very steady. I have thought about that since, how completely steady my hands were. I crossed the barn floor and crouched in front of her and put my hand on her face. She opened her good eye. "Dad," she whispered. Her voice was cracked and dry. "Dad, you have to leave. They're in the house. There are 4 of them and they have—" "I know," I said. "I'm going to get you out. Don't talk loud." My hands. The zip ties. I looked around the barn. Marcus had a utility knife on the pegboard near the door, exactly where he always kept it. I went to it, came back, cut the ties. Lily made a sound when the circulation started coming back and pressed herself into me, and I held her for exactly 3 seconds because that was all the time we had. "Can you walk?" I said. "Yes." "Can you run if you need to?" She looked at me with her one good eye. "Yes." "Okay." We go out the back door. I'm parked on the road. Stay in the trees. Stay low. Stay behind me. Don't stop for anything. "Dad." She grabbed my arm. "He sold the house. Marcus. He's been taking money from these men for months. Something about a deal gone wrong. And they came here too." She stopped. Swallowed. "They said if he didn't pay them back by Friday, they were going to—" "I understand," I said. I kept my voice very quiet and very level. "We're leaving now. You can tell me everything else once we're safe. Okay?" She nodded. What I did not tell her, what I did not say out loud, was that I had already seen, from the barn doorway, that the back door of the house had opened. Someone had stepped out onto the back porch and was standing there in the cold, smoking. We had maybe 60 seconds before he turned around and looked toward the barn. I guided Lily to the back wall of the barn where there was a low window I had already noted when I came in, the kind that swings out on old iron hinges. I got it open without noise. I helped her through first, then went through after her, dropping to the frozen ground on the other side. The tree line was 20 feet away. I looked back at the house. The man on the porch had his back to us, phone to his ear now, looking out at the road. I took Lily's hand and we ran. I am 63 years old, and I have 2 bad knees, and I ran through that frozen field like I was 25. Lily ran beside me and she did not make a single sound. We hit the tree line and plunged into the shadows between the oaks and kept moving north, parallel to the road, until we were well past my truck. Then I cut back through the trees, and we came out on the shoulder about 50 yards ahead of where I'd parked. I looked both ways. Nothing moving on the road. No one at the driveway. We got in the truck, and I did not start the engine. "Get down in the seat," I told Lily. She did. I started the engine and pulled onto the road at normal speed. No rushing. I drove past the driveway at 30 miles per hour without looking directly at the house. The way you drive past a scene you don't want to be connected to. In my peripheral vision, I saw the man from the porch had gone back inside. We cleared the property. I accelerated. For about 2 miles, neither of us said anything. Then Lily started shaking. "You're okay," I said. "You're out. I've got you." "They hurt Marcus too," she said. "He's still in there." "Dad, they have him somewhere in the house. Did you see him?" "The first night. They had him in the kitchen. He was." She pressed her fingers to her mouth. "He was trying to protect me. That's why they separated us. They said if he caused any more trouble, they were going to." "Listen to me," I said. "I need you to hear what I'm about to say. I am not calling the local police." She looked at me. "Marcus told me 6 months ago that Sheriff Briggs had been in his ear about some county permits that shouldn't have been approved. I didn't think much of it at the time. But if these men have enough money to buy a sheriff, I am not handing you back over to a system that might be compromised. I am not taking that risk with you." She was quiet. "I'm taking you to the hospital first," I said. "You need to be checked out. And while we're there, I'm making one phone call." My brother-in-law Dennis had retired from the FBI field office in Chicago 3 years earlier. He still had contacts. He had told me once, years ago, half joking, that if I ever got into real trouble to call him before I did anything else. I had never forgotten it. Some things you file away. I got Lily to Mercy General by 8:40 in the morning. I told the intake nurse she had been assaulted and restrained, and they took her back immediately. While they were getting her settled and the doctor was with her, I went to the men's room, stood in the corner, and called Dennis. He answered on the second ring. I told him everything. The vehicles, the men, the barn, the zip ties. What Lily had told me about Marcus and the money. I told him about Sheriff Briggs and the permits. I told him the address. Dennis was quiet for about 5 seconds. "Don't go back there," he said. "Don't contact local law enforcement. I'll make calls in the next 15 minutes. Are you both physically safe right now? Lily needs medical attention." "I'm fine. Stay at the hospital. Someone will contact you within the hour." 2 hours and 20 minutes later, a federal agent named Paulson introduced himself to me in the hospital waiting room. He was younger than I expected. He shook my hand and told me they were aware of the individuals connected to the property and had been building a case for 8 months. What I had walked into that morning was connected to a larger network they'd had under surveillance. He told me Marcus was found in the house, badly beaten but alive, and had been transported to the same hospital where we were sitting. He told me all 4 men had been taken into custody without incident. He told me Sheriff Briggs had been placed on administrative leave pending investigation. He asked me how I had managed to get my daughter out without being detected. I told him about the tree line, the window, the man on the porch with his back turned. He looked at me for a moment. "You were lucky," he said. "I was prepared," I said. "There's a difference." Lily had 2 cracked ribs, a severe contusion around her eye, and dehydration. They kept her overnight for observation. I slept in the chair beside her bed the same way I used to sleep in the chair beside her bed when she was a little girl and had nightmares. The same chair shape, the same feeling of watching her breathe and being grateful for every single breath. Marcus was in a room 2 floors up. He had a broken nose, 3 broken fingers, and a laceration on his head that required stitches. The doctors told us he was fortunate, another 12 hours, and the internal bleeding they found might have told a different story. On the day they discharged Lily, she and I sat together in the hospital cafeteria and drank terrible coffee, and she told me everything. Marcus had gotten into business with men. He didn't fully understand a subcontracting arrangement that turned out to be a front for moving money. When he tried to get out, they wouldn't let him. They had threatened her first. He had gone along with it for 3 months trying to protect her, not telling her how serious it had gotten, until that Thanksgiving morning when they showed up at the house, and it all fell apart at once. "He sent that text to keep you away," Lily said. "He didn't want you walking into it." "I know," I said. "He was trying to protect you too, Dad." I looked at my daughter across that cafeteria table. Her eye was still swollen, the bruise going yellow at the edges now. She had her mother's eyes. She had her mother's way of finding the generous explanation for everyone around her, even when she was the one who had been hurt. "He should have called me the moment it started," I said. "That's what I'm here for." She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "What would you have done?" "Exactly what I did." She smiled a little at that. The first smile I had seen from her in 4 days. The federal case moved forward over the following months. The 4 men were indicted on charges that filled a document I couldn't fully follow, but Agent Paulson walked me through it: extortion, kidnapping, money laundering, and 3 counts related to the broader network Dennis had told me they'd been tracking. Sheriff Briggs was indicted separately in February on 2 counts of bribery and 1 count of obstruction. He resigned the same day the charges were filed. Marcus cooperated fully. His attorney negotiated his testimony. In exchange for reduced charges on his end, he pled to a single count related to the financial arrangement and received probation and community service. Lily stood beside him in the courtroom when the sentence was handed down. I sat in the gallery 3 rows back, and I watched my daughter hold her husband's hand, and I thought about what it means to stay standing when everything has tried to knock you down. They are still together. I have opinions about that. I keep most of them to myself. What I will tell you is this. The Thursday after everything was resolved, the Thursday closest to where Thanksgiving should have been, Lily showed up at my door at noon with groceries. She made the turkey. I made the pie. My granddaughter, who is 4 years old and knows nothing about any of this, sat at the kitchen table and colored a picture of a horse with too many legs and told us both it was beautiful, and we agreed completely. We sat at the table with the good china and we ate until we couldn't anymore. We talked about Carol. We talked about the kindergarten class Lily was going back to on Monday. We talked about nothing important for a long time. At one point, my granddaughter climbed into my lap and fell asleep there. Her whole warm, solid self, just trusting that I was a safe place to rest, and I sat completely still with my coffee going cold on the table so I wouldn't wake her. There are moments that hold everything. That was one. I am 63 years old. I have bad knees, and a flannel shirt my daughter teases me about, and a truck with 200,000 miles on it, and I am not a hero. I am just a father. But I want to say one thing directly to anyone watching this, who has a feeling, that cold feeling that starts in your chest and doesn't leave about someone they love. Trust it. Don't explain it away. Don't wait for another unanswered call or another reasonable-sounding text. When I got that first message on Thanksgiving morning, every rational part of my brain said, "She's probably just sick. Don't overreact. Give it time." I almost listened to that part. I am so glad I didn't. Tell me in the comments, have you ever had a moment where something felt wrong about someone you love, and you were right? Where are you watching from tonight? I want to hear from you. And if this story meant something to you, if you have someone in your life you'd walk through a frozen field for, please share it. You never know who needs to hear it. I'll see you in the next one.